The Twisted Mind of Jeffrey Dahmer explained. If you were to ask most people to describe the twisted mind of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, they would compare him to Hannibal Lecter. Not because he was a cannibal or ate human flesh, but because both shared a mental illness so apparent that they hated themselves while on their killing sprees. The first part's true. Dahmer's schizophrenia led him down a horrible path that resulted in murder and cannibalism. But the source of the resemblance goes beyond his mental illness. Dahmer was also born into poverty and went through his troubled youth with little parental support. Once he hit adulthood, he looked for a way out. Killing sex crime victims seemed like a quick and easy solution. To this day, more than 20 years after they were discovered, the story of Jeffrey Dahmer remains an object lesson in the twisted mind of a serial killer. The facts surrounding his life are starkly horrifying. He was arrested when he was 21 and already on the FBI's most wanted list for suspected involvement in 23 homicides. He spoke of being sexually aroused by corpses and having sex with corpses he decapitated. His victims included 22 males and 1 female, who both eventually succumbed to a sadistic abuse. As with other serial killers, he was unable to say why he killed his victims or why he exploited their bodies after death. Hey, welcome back to our channel, Stalker Stories. Today, we'll talk about the twisted mind of Jeffrey Dahmer. On May 21, 1960, Jeffrey Dahmer entered the world as a serial killer and sex offender in the United States. Dahmer brutally murdered 17 males between the years of 1978 and 1991. His method of operation frequently included rape, dismemberment, necrophilia, and cannibalism. Dahmer had a typical upbringing, but he developed a severe case of social isolation as he got older. As he hit his teenage years, he showed little enthusiasm for either hobby or socializing, instead preferring to spend his time inspecting animal carcasses and binge drinking. He kept drinking all through high school, but it didn't prevent him from graduating in 1978. The 18-year-old killed for the first time 3 weeks later. That summer, Jeffrey was left alone at home as his parents went through the process of divorcing, and he decided to act on the sinister ideas that had been developing in his mind. A hitchhiker by the name of Stephen Hicks was picked up by him, and he invited him to drink beer at his father's house. As Hicks turned to go, however, Dahmer smacked him upside the head with a 10-pound dumbbell. Dahmer eventually acknowledged killing Hicks because he wanted Hicks to stay, and he dissected, dissolved, pulverized, and distributed the now invisible remains all over his backyard. It would be another 9 years before he committed murder again. As a result of his drunkenness, Dahmer left college in the fall. After that, his father coerced him into joining the military, and he spent the years 1979 to 1981 stationed as a combat medic in Germany. He was unable to break his addiction and returned to Ohio after being discharged that spring. His father finally had enough of his son's drinking and sent him to live with his grandmother in West Allis, Wisconsin. In 1985, he was known for visiting gay bathhouses where he would drug individuals before raping them while they were asleep. His 2 indecent exposure arrests in 1982 and 1986 resulted in simply probation. He was never charged with any rapes. His second victim was a man named Stephen Tuomi, who was murdered in September 1987. Dahmer picked him up from the bar, and when Tuomi returned to his hotel room the next day, he found his body battered and bloodied. He claimed later that he did not recall killing Tuomi, suggesting that he acted on a blacked-out whim. 2 people were killed in 1988, 1 in 1989, and 4 in 1990, all of whom were murdered intermittently following Tuomi. As before, he would drug, rape, and eventually kill unsuspecting males he lured from clubs or prostitutes he had solicited. Dahmer also began doing terrible things with their bodies, including having sexual relations with them after they were dead, photographing the dismemberment process, and preserving the skulls and genitalia of his victims with scientific precision so that he could display them and eat them. Around this time, Dahmer was taken into custody when he was accused of drugging and sexually fondling a 13-year-old employee at his workplace, the Ambrosia Chocolate Factory. In addition to registering as a sex offender, he was given a 5-year probationary period, a year in a work release camp, and a year in prison for this. After being granted early release from the employment program, he relocated to Milwaukee, Wisconsin in May of 1990. There, he would be free to commit 4 murders in 1990 and 8 more in 1991, despite having scheduled meetings with his probation supervisor. By the summer of 1991, Dahmer had killed around once a week. He grew obsessed with the idea of transforming his victims into zombies so that they could serve as his young, obedient sexual companions. He employed an array of methods, including perforating their skills and injecting them with hydrochloric acid or boiling water to achieve his ends. Strange noises and foul odors soon began to be reported from Dahmer's apartment, and the neighbors quickly became concerned. A lobotomized patient who had been abandoned once walked out onto the street and asked many strangers for assistance. However, upon his return, Dahmer was able to convince the authorities that the insane youth was actually just his highly inebriated partner. Because the police didn't bother to do the background check that would have revealed Dahmer's sex offender status, he was able to delay his certain demise by a short amount of time. Dahmer enticed Tracy Edwards into his home on July 22, 1991, promising money in exchange for Edwards' company. Dahmer lured Edwards into the house with a promise of a butcher knife and then pushed him into the bedroom. Edwards managed to break free during the fight and go out onto the street, where he eventually managed to flag down a police car. Edwards told the police that Dahmer had a knife in his bedroom when they arrived. When police searched Dahmer's chamber, they discovered the evidence that led to his arrest: graphic images of mutilated bodies and body parts. Additional searching within the house turned up human remains in the fridge, photos of the victims, and 3 more decapitated heads scattered around the room. It was discovered that he had 7 human skulls in his flat and that he had a human heart stored in the freezer. He also had an altar built in his closet, complete with candles and human skulls. Dahmer began telling the authorities the horrific details of his crimes once he was arrested. On January 30th, 1992, the trial for Jeffrey Dahmer, who was charged with 15 counts of murder, got underway. Dahmer pleaded insanity as his defense, despite the fact that the evidence against him was overwhelming. He said that the nature of his profoundly disturbed and uncontrollable impulses was to blame for this. After a 2-week trial, the judge ruled that he was competent to stand trial and found him guilty on all 15 counts of murder. He was given 15 life sentences for a combined total of 957 years in prison for his crimes. He entered a guilty plea for the murder of his first victim, Stephen Hicks, in May of the same year and was given an additional life sentence for the crime. At the conclusion of his sentence, Dahmer was sent to the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, which is located in the state of Wisconsin. During his time spent behind bars, Dahmer admitted his guilt for the crimes he committed and stated that he longed to end his own life. In addition to this, he read the Bible and asserted that he was a reborn Christian, all set for the conclusion of his life. Inmates who shared a cell attacked him twice, the first time making an unsuccessful effort to cut open his neck and instead leaving him with only superficial wounds. On the other hand, on November 28, 1994, he was assaulted for a second time by an inmate when they were cleaning one of the showers at the prison. Dahmer was discovered to be alive, but he succumbed to serious head damage while being transported to the hospital. What do you think about psychopaths like him? Did their mental sickness make them a killer, or are they just born monsters who got mental disorders because of their vicious mentality? Hey, let us know your thoughts down below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out other videos we have just like it. And also, hit that bell icon too. That way you'll never miss an update and you will always be notified of our latest uploads to our channel. You can also like and share our videos with all your friends and family and others who will like knowing about videos just like this. Hey, we thank you so much for spending time out of your busy day with us today, and we look forward to doing it again soon. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.